Sorry.
I tell you, gotta just dance every once in a while.
Hi, Bill.
Oh yeah. How are you, Violetta?
Good. How are you?
I'm better now. I've been coding all morning, so I needed to dance a little bit.
Okay.
DC iPhone, how are you?
I'm fine.
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Who's this?
Violetta.
Oh no, the other one, DC.
DC.
I don't know.
DC.
DC, how are you, man?
Yes. Good. Been recovering, under the weather for about a week, but like you said, cooning. So coming out of the cocoon with a little sunshine today.
Yeah.
How about you? Where are you out of? Texas?
Chicago. Boy, it'd be nice to be in Texas. It's been so cold here.
Okay, I'm in San Diego.
Ah, yeah, that's pretty nice there.
Well, yeah, we've
had a lot of rain.
Yeah, it's been pretty strange, but for us, we can't complain, right?
No. For the most part, it's pretty stellar weather there. So.
Right. So I'm not complaining.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for joining. So, are you on Stacy's team?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Okay.
Is he in on this call?
I'm not sure if he's going to make it today yet. I know that he's in Quantico today, selling booze to the military.
Okay.
I'm sure they need it. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let me pull up what we're going over today. Hang on a second. I have to get out of what I'm first doing here. Like I said, I've been coding all morning, mostly just trying to figure out how to do something. Then I always turn it over to my developers. But this is something that what you guys see right here, let me expand this a little bit, is an automated webinar that we've been working on. So what's really cool about this is that obviously it's going to take, multiple times a day. It'll take anybody that you send to it through the webinar experience. It's a live webinar experience, and I'll show you how this works in just a second, okay? And hopefully there'll be some people that actually have comments that are in this, that are on today. So, but essentially like any other webinar, okay, this is definitely for drivers and influencers. Okay, but really the webinar that we do on a Wednesday night, this is what this is, except it's now available twice a day, every single day. And there's an immediate watch replay available now. So you can watch replay now, which is what I'm going to show you in a second. It's set up, if you go through this, and I'll send everybody the link out, obviously, to play at the local time, either at 1 p.m. or at 9 p.m. Those are the times that our analytics have told us from the website that most drivers are on our site. So we have some insight as to sort of when they are available. And it's those times. It's 1 p.m. their time and 9 p.m. their time, which is really fun to have those insights from the website. So that's when we're best going to reach them. But then there's also this, real simple watch now, which means that anytime that somebody comes onto this, they can watch this. And it's very much so a live experience, which I will show you. If you've not seen one of these before, they're pretty amazing in the way in which they work, because it looks like it's a live webinar going on. Hello, and thank you very much for joining us today. Really excited that you're here. Really excited to get into the information about Tryp. So let's just jump right in, okay? So first of all, who is on this webinar? All right, so you're maybe a driver, and you've heard about Tryp's unique business model of giving drivers 100% of the fare and tips. So that's definitely a lot of you on there. Maybe you're a rider, and you want to know how to get lower fares and get cash bonuses for using Tryp. There are cash bonuses for just being a driver. And maybe you want to learn how to work with Tryp and help Tryp build the company and get rewarded for helping the company out. So any one of those three things could be on the webinar at this point. So welcome to all of you. So let's first talk a little bit about the problem with rideshare at this point. Now, if you're a driver, you already know that Uber and Lyft are really pissing off both riders and drivers right now. And much of the problem for the drivers is there's only one product that you can earn from, and that's taking a rider from point A to point B. Okay? And the problem also is if Uber and Lyft want to make more money, at the end of it, what do they do, right? You can probably answer that. They either raise the price on the rider or they lower the amount that the driver gets. And they just did that again to the drivers. They just recently lowered the amount that they're getting yet again, okay? And in both cases, this creates a lose-lose-win situation. The driver loses, the rider loses, and the company wins. And we completely understand this dynamic. Because otherwise I just can't even understand myself. So as you can see with that, so it's a very much so a live experience environment. There's a chat roll going. They go through a number of Q&A questions, which are questions that has been asked by us and answered many, many times. Many of those slides contain a lot of the answers that people who come onto the webinars are already interested in. So, but sometimes people aren't paying attention, and you know how it is. It's like the more times that they can see those answers, the better overall. And so I do encourage everybody. Hey, Jared, how are you, buddy? I do encourage everybody to go through that so you can get a sense of what you're sending people to. Now, the really cool thing about this, and I should have just gone back on it here. Let me pull it up again so everybody can see it. So. Is that what you'll be able to do if you see where I'm typing up here, okay? I'm not sure if you can see that or not up in the URL, okay? But the URL itself, okay, and I'll actually bring it down here just so you can see for sure. You'll be able to put your Tryp ID into the URL when you're sending somebody to this webinar, okay? So you'll be able to actually, that'll actually be the URL that you'll send to people. It will capture your Tryp ID. It'll take them through the registration process. It'll continue to have your Tryp ID on the webinar page. And then at the end of that webinar, there'll be links to go either register as a new user or to log on if you've already created a Tryp ID and upgrade. And that'll all be directly under your Tryp ID. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. And the reason, one of the reasons that sort of we like this, because the webinar itself has been converting very, very, very well. We've got it kind of nailed at this point. All right. So therefore we can replicate it for everybody else to use. The other thing with this too, and we've just finalized this as well. And this is not something I was planning on talking about. We might as well though. So under the entire Tryp website, you can send somebody to any page on our Tryp rideshare.info site with that exact same thing, okay, with Tryp ID equals Tryp bill 603, okay? Absolutely any page within the site by sort of middle of next week, that will be captured. You'll be able to, anytime that somebody registers with an email, they'll get dropped into our email funnel, okay, with this function here. And in that, it'll also capture your Tryp ID, and then every email that they receive from that point on will contain your Tryp ID with a link to sign up or register in it. Okay, so what we've basically done is just turned this entire very, very highly converting website into a replicated website for everybody to use. And that's something that's pretty darn cool, just because there are multiple pages within our blog that rank higher than Tryp's main corporate website. The entire website here ranks higher than Tryp's main corporate website. So it's a really fantastic resource for everybody to use. And we've now turned it into this giant replicated site. So we're just finalizing the last pieces on this so that for sure there's nothing that we won't lose. We won't lose anybody's Tryp ID as people go through this. You can come on into our blog and you can share any one of our blog posts. one of the most highly converting posts right now, or one of the most popular ones, is actually this one here, is Tryp Ride's a scam, which is one that ranks extremely high for any of the scam words, and it explains why it's not. It talks about this guy here who is kind of a hater for us. He'll become a lover for us at some point, okay? But it's very, very well targeted towards that person who's like, hey, what's going on with this? You know, another one of the ones that's really, really good to use is how to increase your revenue by 95.6%. That's another one that ranks really, really high. So any one of these you can just share via the share buttons. You can just come right in here and share this with your followers if you're posting out on social media. And again, that'll all come back to your Tryp ID, which will be fantastic if they come back and look at the article that you've shared. It will have your Tryp ID in it. So those are just a few of the things that we've been really kind of diligently working on to get done. And of course, this function that you see here will also be completely done with your Tryp ID as well. So, and I know that that Tryp Corporate has plans to do some of this, but what they aren't doing at this point is things like every time that somebody registers for a webinar of ours, they get a text, they get emails, they get a whole bunch of different reminders that way, both by text and email. Anytime that somebody uses one of our forms down at the bottom of any of our pages, okay, same thing. These are all going to contain the telephone number, so we can text that person. We can remind them about things that we're doing. We can remind them about pieces of content. Our drip sequence is about 15 emails long right now. So all that will be completely custom coded to you. So that's going to be really, really fun. So I look forward to sort of everybody being able to take advantage of all the work that we've done, so you can be more successful in your business, which is really, really fun. So I hope does that make sense for everybody? That sort of like that's where we're going with this, and that's what our process is.
Yes.
Great. Oh, fantastic. All right. So that's that. The other thing that we have been working on, and I think I just clicked off of it, so I apologize. Hang on a second. That has absolutely been the best converting process without a doubt. And I met with Violetta earlier this week. Her son, who's 18 years old, is going to come out with me after spring break. For us, spring break's next week, so I'll be gone. He's going to come out with me to the airport, okay? This little function here, which is under triprideshare.info/tools, okay? Anybody can get to this. All of our tools are completely wide open, by the way. So I know that people are finding our tools from other teams. That's fine, okay? I want the whole company to grow. But this is a tool that is just absolutely marvelous. I can't stress enough how important it is for everybody to do this, okay? And it's so simple, and the drivers are so receptive. So under triprideshare.info/tools, okay, all you do is you come over here and you put in your Tryp ID. So it's Tryp Bill 603, which is my ID. Don't put yours in, don't put mine in there, put yours in, okay? And then drop your cell phone number in there, okay? And you want to drop your cell phone number or whatever number you want people to call you on, okay? That's really, really important, because the drivers will absolutely call you immediately after receiving this, okay, if they don't track you down in the lot, okay? And what we've been doing with this is, as you can see on the page here, it creates a flyer for you. There are 4 flyers to a page, so you want to print them out and slice them into 4. What I've been doing is printing them out over at Office Depot and having them slice them, just because it's just quicker and easier, okay? If I go to download this, I'll show you exactly what it looks like, okay? It's super, super simple, super easy, okay? And I don't know if I might need to reshare this. Hang on a second. Yeah, I do. Okay, can everybody see that now? The flyer?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, it's just super simple. So what it does is it creates a QR code so that they can just scan it and go to the site. Okay, it creates a URL so they can scan, they can type that in if they don't have a QR code on theirs. Okay, or they can just call. My telephone number is right there, and it's all the information that basically catches the eye of the drivers like immediately. What I will quite often do is take this and just, because I like to go over to the airport at noon, which is when everybody's kind of sitting around having lunch. Okay, I'll take one of these flyers and I'll just put it up against the window as they're sitting there. And all it takes for them is they read that attention drivers earn 100% of the fare and tips. And that window comes down every single time. So I'll sit there and wait for them to kind of go through it real quick and see if I can answer any quick questions for them. Okay. And I'll say to them, hey, you can scan that. You can type in that URL. Go have a look at that page. It'll explain a lot more about how this works and how we're giving drivers 100% of everything. And quite typically what they will do is they will ask a couple questions right there, and they'll say, hey, this sounds really good. What do I do next? And I'll say, okay, here's what you do next. Scan or put in that information at the bottom of that. So what this does, what this process does, is it creates a button at the bottom of this page, which I'll show you in a second, that allows them to click on that button. It contains your Tryp URL, okay, your Tryp referral code, and then they go register right there under you. Now, once they register with Tryp, we have their name, we have their email address, and we have their cell phone number. Okay, so we know right away when they register. Okay, that's the important thing. Okay, that's where we get all their contact information. Okay, and at that point, we can easily start emailing them and texting them to see if they can come to a webinar. You can just send them the exact link to the webinar we were just watching. Okay, that's a really great way to get them engaged. Okay, is to use that webinar. Okay, once Tryp allows us to get access to all that information, this will be completely automated. So once they allow us, which will be in the next iteration, probably within the next couple of weeks, they'll allow us to get immediate access to anybody who registers under our Tryp codes. When that happens, then I'll have 100% of this automated. That they'll immediately get an invitation to go to our webinar. They'll get all the follow-up emails. They'll get the follow-up text. They'll get all that stuff that we have built into that, and they are off and running, and they're in the system. They'll always be, whenever we send anything, we'll send it with your telephone number. So if they want to call, they're going to call you. So it's going to be and it's already a very massive, very well-refined marketing system that we've put together just for our team. Okay, this is just for our team. Tryp doesn't have any of this yet. Okay, I expect that they will, but right now at this point, they don't have any of this. This is just for our team. And DC, just so you know that I'm actually up with Stacy as a partner now. So you are obviously included in our team. So
Nice.
yeah. So it's pretty kind of groundbreaking stuff. Now, let me show you what the
Can I get you to quickly just summarize how this links us?
Yeah. Meaning, how does this form here that we're looking at links you?
The QR code.
Yeah.
And how it links to us.
Let me show you. So you saw how we created it, right? Where you just put in your Tryp code and you put in your telephone number.
ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so what our system does is it creates a QR code, and I'm going to show you the website in a second. It creates a QR code and it creates this link, okay, that are both customized to your Tryp ID. Okay. And so then if we come over here, and I'll show you exactly how this works here. Hang on a second. So if we come over to here, so this is the actual link that would be linked in the QR code and in the URL that was printed on the page. Okay. So up here, as you're looking, if you can look up in just the top left, you may not be able to see it real clearly.
I can see it. I expanded it.
Yeah. So that's my Tryp ID equals Tryp bill 603.
Right.
This is all the information that they're generally asking for. And then at the bottom, it says, click here to set up your free Tryp account. Okay. If I, let me see if I can pull this up because it's really, really small in the corner here. Yeah, so basically what it is it's a link to Tryp's main corporate website with my ID as being the referral code.
Okay.
So yeah, which is
which will be my ID when I do it.
Exactly. It'll be your ID when you do it. So I don't know if you can see that down the bottom left of my screen right now. It's very small on the bottom left, but that's my referral code going to the main sign-in page to create a new account on Tryp's website.
Okay. I don't see it here, but go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just looking.
I understand.
So you understand how it works. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing too is we're working on this right now is this telephone number on this page will actually go to your page. So it'll go to your phone. That's the next thing that they're working on. They should probably have that ready by tomorrow or the next day, is that on the page itself, it'll have your telephone number, not the 866 number that we have that Stacy and I answer. So at the very top, it'll instead populate the telephone number that you put in originally on the form. Okay.
Great.
So that way, if they do call, again, they're calling you every single time. And I just can't stress enough to everybody how incredibly important it is to go to the airport right now. This is absolutely the easiest thing that in the world that you will do. I mean, it is just the drivers are so incredibly receptive to this. Now, at Chicago, I've been over there 3-4 times at this point. There's nobody else there, and there are 1,000 cars. So the first time I did it, I drove into the lot. I'm like, oh my gosh, I only brought 100 flyers with me. I'm like, I did not bring enough flyers. Okay. The second time I went back there with 300 flyers. It took me about 45 minutes. That's talking to people and distributing to get 300 flyers distributed. And I'm the only one there. Like everybody else is a driver. Like I'm the only one there. So I just can't stress to you enough. Like this is so incredibly easy right now. It's just crazy. And if you're not doing this, you're leaving a ton of very, very simple leads and connections. Face-to-face connection is absolutely the best way to get somebody to trust what you're saying is real, right? They can read all they want about it, but when they see you there and they can ask you questions, that is a huge plus in their overcoming any sort of objections that they have. Huge, huge plus. Okay, and Jared, I know you're going to be doing this for sure, man. So it is just the easiest thing in the world. I just can't even stress it more than that. It's just the easiest thing in the world right now. So very soon, what this is going to look like is there's going to be 10 or 15 people from Tryp in each lot. I would say within a couple of months, at every single lot in the U.S., there'll be 10 or 15 people walking around with flyers. Okay, so if you're doing it right now, you're going to build a huge, huge, huge team right now. I just can't stress that enough. So is somebody asking for chat? Oh, yeah, here we go. Yes, Philadelphia airports are always loaded. I know, man. I'm sure it's just like Chicago, Jared. Jared is saying they're always loaded there. There are at noon, there are 1,000 cars there every single day. That's 1,000 drivers. So how much do you get paid per month for 1,000 drivers? Who knows that amount? Anybody? It's $25,000 a month if you get 1,000 drivers on your team. This is just an absolute no-brainer right now. You don't have to spend there's no pay-per-click that you have to do. There's nothing fancy you have to do. Nothing at all. This is something that anybody can do, is go pass out these flyers and just talk to people. And if you're nervous about talking to people, boy, the best way is just to go start doing it, because you'll get over your nervousness right away. After 2, 3, 4 people ask you just some basic questions that you already know because you've been on the Wednesday webinar with me once or twice or 3 times. Okay, that's all you need to know is what we talk about on the Wednesday webinar. That's it. And I'm going to send everybody out the link to the webinar registration that I was just working on. Okay, once we have the final pieces of that, and that's what I was coding this morning, was the final pieces of that. Once we have that, then it's the sky's the limit, because all you have to do is just basically put your link on that and just hand it to everybody. Okay, you might want to even have another card that says, hey, watch this webinar right now. Are you interested? Watch this webinar right now. So if that's something you'll find that would be valuable, let me know. The other thing too is you could put that webinar on a business card too. Okay, and that webinar will be that'll be one of our permanent tools for a very long time. As new things, so if we have us, when South Florida opens up, I'll redo the webinar. It takes me 25 minutes, okay, and reload it up. When Philadelphia opens up, I'll redo the webinar, okay, and we'll have that information for each one of those, okay, because as the cities begin to open up and once the apps come out, people will be registering left and right. Jarrett knows this because Jarrett's a driver, okay? Like, the drivers are incredibly unhappy with Uber and Lyft right now. They can't wait for this to come to their city. Every driver I talk to just says, hey, when's it coming? When's it coming to my city? When's it coming to my city? I want in. I want to do this. Okay, so the timing is just amazing right now. And it's free to set up a Tryp account. Just get them in your Tryp account. That's all we're looking to do, is get them in your Tryp account. When they register, they automatically register under you because they registered through your Tryp ID. So it's just, I can't stress that enough, just how easy it is right now at the airport. It is the lowest hanging fruit I've ever seen in my life as far as building a business goes. All right. That's all I got for you guys today. Those two impactful things. Okay, that's it. I wanted to reiterate the driver flyers at the airport because I'm telling you, like, I know I've just said it like 40 times in a row. This is the easiest thing I've ever seen. Okay, so if you're watching this on video, if you're watching the replay, go print this thing out. Okay, go do this right now. Go to your airport. Okay, start passing these out. If you're a driver, just have a whole bunch ready. Okay, every time you pull into the lot, get out and start, instead of texting or doing whatever, get out, take your phone with you. So if you get a ping, you can go back into your car and know it. Okay, start passing out flyers. Okay, you're already sitting around. You're sitting around in these lots. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, get out and pass out flyers until you get a ping. Use your time wisely. Okay, cool. Everybody have a great Friday. Any questions about anything of the people that are on the call?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'd like to just kind of interject an experience I've had and done since joining with Tryp. I signed up for Lyft as a driver, so I could understand their experiences and where they're coming from, so I could be one of them.
Fantastic.
So I haven't been doing it full time, but I've been doing it some part-time stuff. And some of the questions that has been brought up as I've been spreading the word is it going to be, the pricing going to be competitive for the rider?
That's a great question. Yeah, great question. So,
and how does that affect the rider themselves?
Yep.
And I've said yes, but I didn't.
You don't know how to answer
beyond that.
Okay, good. I'll tell you exactly how to answer that. Okay. The pricing will be just slightly lower than what Lyft is charging right now. So for the rider, it'll be a better fare. But the biggest thing is there's no surge pricing. So overall for the rider, it's going to be much, much lower. Okay. So those are the two pricing questions when asked that, how to answer those. Okay. But then thirdly, for the rider, if they share the app, they make money. Okay. So that's the other thing about the rider advantage, is that every time that they share the app and somebody uses it, or they use the app themselves to hail a Tryp ride, they make reward points. Okay. So overall, that's a much better deal than what Uber and Lyft is giving, because you can accrue reward points and redeem those as cash. You can also redeem them as a ride, but you can also redeem them as cash. It's in $25 increments to redeem them as cash, which is
great.
Monumental.
Great.
Yeah.
And one of the other experiences I had is I picked up a lady and her kid at the bus station in San Diego, drove her to the LA area, And I think my what I was paid was right around, it was just under $100.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about a roughly 100-mile drive. And I asked her what she was charged, and she said it was right around about 150. So therefore I was getting
66%.
Yeah.
So they took 36% of the ride.
Yeah, which seems like, quite a bit of a cut. But
Yeah. So think about that. Okay. So let's say instead, okay, she pays $125. You get $125, and she pays the $1.95 booking fee on top of that. So she pays $126.95. So she now has paid about 20% less. Okay, and I'm not sure if this is going to be the actual fare, but this is the scenario that we need to all sort of present and think about, right? She's going to pay less. You're going to make more.
right.
So that's
And
a
also
win-win.
on top of that, they're going to receive a cash credit or
Yep.
a ride share credit.
Yeah,
Correct?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay,
Because every time the rider uses the app themselves, they get paid as well.
right. So that's the extra bonus.
That's the extra bonus.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it's we like to talk about it as a win-win-win. Okay. It's always a win for the rider, it's always a win for the driver, and it's always a win for the company. So all three of those things create the perfect storm that we're in right now. Okay.
Right.
This is no doubt the perfect storm with all three of those things.
Great. The other
Okay.
thing I had was the rollout in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Is that, what's the time schedule on that?
So once the apps come out, so we're about a week and a couple of days probably away from the apps coming out. What we'll be looking to do at that point is get a good ratio, and I know exactly what that ratio is, so I'll explain that, of riders to drivers. Okay, the ratio that the company has identified is a 10-to-1 ratio. So if there's 3,000 drivers, we need 30,000 riders in a market in order to say, okay, this market is now open for rideshare. Okay. We actually just got a text yesterday from the CEO talking about all the different markets that we're setting up that we're almost ready to go in, and what that is. So here, let me find that again. Hang on. He texted me last night, so let me find it here. I unfortunately get so many texts. It's crazy. Here it is. So for Phoenix, we need a minimum of 3,000 drivers, and we have a maximum of 10,000 drivers that we can take. The rider app downloads need to be a minimum of 30,000 to open the market. Okay, so once we have the two of those things, we can be assured that the riders will never be sitting around waiting, and that the drivers will be very busy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then New Orleans, Atlanta. Atlanta has a max of 12,000. Fort Lauderdale, Miami has a max of 15,000. Tampa, St. Pete has a max of 9,000. So essentially what he's saying is that we need about 62,000 drivers to open all of these markets at this point. Right now,
are they going to wait for all those markets, or are they going to start with, does it matter? Each market is, once it reaches the analytics on that.
I imagine that once we reach the analytics on a market, it will open. So, it would seem to make sense to me to open somewhat slowly to just make sure that we flush out any issues that might be,
Right.
A part of sort of just that initial rollout. So I would imagine that, whichever one kind of reaches those numbers and those ratios first will open, and then we'll just basically see how it goes. My guess is it's probably going to be either Phoenix or or Orlando. That would be my guess. So just based upon what I know about those. But it could be it could be Tucson. Tucson's right behind Phoenix. So, but I know that we've been working really hard on Phoenix. So I'd imagine that there's a critical mass there already.
Right. And does Phoenix cover all the Maricopa County area?
Yeah, it covers all those counties right around it. So that tends to always be the case because you need to be able to take people out of Phoenix Central out to those counties and back, kind of thing.
Right.
So it's really what it winds up being is that, you know, it's whatever it is, 30 miles plus around the airports, just depending upon how spread out the community is.
Right. Yeah, that's where a big base of my family's out in Phoenix. So.
Oh, fantastic! All right, sign them all up, DC. Get them going. Send them to the airport, man.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed.
Yeah, fantastic. Anybody else have any questions? Chase, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, Bill. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm good. I've been coding. You'll have to listen to the replay of this because we've are in the process of finalizing replicating the entire tryprideshare.info site. So every bit of the site you'll be able to send people to and use, and it'll all be coded to your Tryp ID, including the autoresponders. Just absolutely everything will be coded to your Tryp ID moving forward. So we're hoping to have that either sort of middle of next week or beginning of the following week at the very latest. So, which is pretty exciting. And the automated webinar is almost completely done. So again, you'll be able to send people with your Tryp ID to the automated webinar, and off they go.
Oh, awesome! That's even better.
Yeah,
and that's going to be at any point, or is it going to be on set days? Like, okay.
So the way it works is that at any point they can watch the replay, which is the exact same thing as the live experience webinar. So even though it says replay, it's the exact same thing. So the chat goes down, and you're essential figure in the chat, Chase. Man, there's a lot of your comments in there.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
I can't wait to watch it.
You'll see. I'll send it out to you guys, and it's fun. It's fun to watch. So, but then it also plays at your time, so wherever that person is, at 1 p.m. and at 9 p.m. each day. So daily. So
awesome.
Yeah,
that gives a good range to get people to, and then not waiting a day or 2 or 3 days, you know, to get onto a webinar to kind of see.
Exactly. That's the goal. Exactly. So, and the webinar, as you guys know, that it really has been converting very, very well. So that's a huge plus.
Yes.
So,
how many people do we have on? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What's your question?
How many people do we have on this last week's webinar call?
I think there were about 75.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, so it's definitely picking up. That's almost double the week before.
Yeah, I hand jammed about 65 text messages, copy and pasting a link to the webinar out to all my leads that I had. So.
Oh, excellent. All right. Yeah, I know you got a lot right now. So you are one of the bigger people in our entire group right now. So good job, man.
I did.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you betcha. Jared, you got a question? Nope. How you doing, man? I can see your little picture up there. Violetta, you got any questions?
Yes, my son make my flyers. Him a problem or questions, he can call you?
Yes.
When you need to the airport, when you go?
At noon.
When? What day? You don't know?
It doesn't matter. You can go.
I don't need to with you and my son.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
So we'll go when I get back after next week, after spring break. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Hey, Bill, got a question.
Yeah.
I'm still getting the hang of the legs, but just kind of wanted to get your opinion. You know, my third one is decent right now. I have a holding tank of about 47 at the moment, and wasn't too sure if I should go ahead and wait to see which ones upgrade to drivers, or should I go ahead and just place them like on the first availability slot. I was trying to see what would be a good tactic because I didn't want to place everybody and then have people being placed on my first leg that I'll sign up, and then onto my third leg don't sign up to be drivers, and then I'm tip topping on my first leg. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. So, and it's a good question. So what I do is I'll take the oldest leads and I'll start placing those in those areas. Okay. You can also, for the time being, they don't seem to be force placing the leads. So there's really no particular urgency to place at this point until they start doing that. Okay. And they definitely are going to, but just for right now, they don't seem to be doing that. They're about to switch over to an entire new system that they're hand building just for this. Okay. And yes, Jared, I'll get you last week's webinar. So I just saw that he posted that. So, once that happens, then you'll have a week. I'm actually trying to convince them to do 30 days. I'm hoping that goes through because 30 days seems to make more sense because that way we can get them onto a couple of different webinars. And if they are going to upgrade, they're going to upgrade after a couple of different webinars. But so at this point, Chase, I would say, don't worry about it.
Awesome. Because what I was wondering last night, let's say I have 3 of the people get on the webinar last night or Wednesday night, and they're like, oh, I know we're still doing the special promotion. If they go ahead and upgrade drivers and let you know, let's say they email you and I'm not too aware, even though they're underneath my sign-up code, they email you for the 10 people to be placed underneath them. Do they need to be in my leg to receive those 10 drivers, or?
No, you see, because I can take them at any time and I can place people under them. Actually, you know what? They may need to be placed at that point. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, so what I do, Chase, is that as soon as somebody upgrades, I place them immediately. Okay. Whether it's as an influencer or as a driver influencer or as a driver. Okay. Anytime that happens, I immediately place them into my weakest leg. Okay. And what I like to do is I'll place them under somebody who has been doing good work. Okay. So anybody who has been, out recruiting people and is clearly doing work, that's where I put them. Okay. And I'll start to distribute them evenly as I've been doing with you under each one of your legs. Right. So what that creates then is that once I place them, then I'm able to, or once they are placed. So let's say if that happened and somebody who is under you upgraded, I would have you place them wherever you want to. I would contact you and I would say, hey, Chase, we need to have this person placed. Go ahead and put them there. And then as soon as they're there, I'll put the 10 underneath them if it's a driver influencer. Okay. And then off to the races we go. What I've been doing with people as of late is letting them decide how they want it. Most people, Jared included, because he just upgraded, said, hey, let's just do it in 2 or 3 legs, or do it, most people want to do it just sort of uniformly across their legs if they don't have anybody. But that is a really good time if you are talking to somebody that hasn't gotten in yet or hasn't upgraded yet. That's a really good time to say to them, hey, if you upgrade right now, I'll have Bill put these under you.
Right.
So, again, it's a great incentive for somebody if they're kind of on the fence to say, hey, you know what, go ahead and upgrade, and Bill's going to put some people under, and they might as well be under you.
Exactly. And have you noticed the back office changing and updating to say driver? Because all of mine say rider, and the influencers, when they do upgrade, they do say that. But have you seen any people personally upgrade to driver and it says that on their code?
Yes, it does. Yeah, there is a different driver interface altogether. Yep. So just like that influencers hub, there's a drivers hub.
Gotcha. I'm referring to like in your back office when you're scrolling through the legs, you'll see name, number, and then influencer, rider, or driver.
Yeah. So the way you can tell the difference, okay, if it says influencer inactive, okay, that is somebody who just upgraded to influencer. The inactive versus active is the software subscription part that only a driver activates in. Okay, so if it says influencer active, that is a driver influencer. If it says driver active, that's just a driver.
Okay, that
Makes sense? Yeah.
So if the market, let's say Orlando, opens up and I have 5 people that are underneath me, Orlando is activated. So in my legs, I should see them turn from a rider to a driver to an active, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So let's
Okay.
see if I can find somebody here.
So anything that says active means that it's a driver.
Exactly. If it says active, it's a driver.
Okay.
Let me pull up a different account here. Hang on a second. Who did I just place for you, Chase? I just placed somebody, didn't I? I'm going to use you. I'm going to pick on you again.
Yeah, that's fine. You always pick on me.
Yeah.
That's fine. Third leg,
Under
second guy,
Carvins,
I
right?
believe.
Yeah, under Carvins. Yeah.
Under
Oh yeah.
Carvins.
Hey, Keenan, you're on the call even here. Okay, so
There we go. Awesome.
we can look at both accounts right here. So, oh, Keenan's not on the call. No, I thought he was. All right, so let me expand this. All right, so we just placed an active person here, Keenan Smith, who's also an influencer. Okay. Under Carvins, who's an influencer for Chase. Okay, so this is Chase's group. Okay, Carvins is our first line influencer. Okay, and then hang on a second. Carvins is our first line influencer right there. Keenan got placed under him. He's an active influencer, so that means he's a driver influencer. And then, did you see this too? That Mary Lou immediately upgraded right with Keenan.
Yeah, I saw that this morning when I checked it.
Yeah. So that was an active influencer as well. So she's a driver influencer also. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can see where it says influencer inactive. Okay. That is somebody who's just an influencer and is not an active driver. So in the Tryp OS is just exactly how it sounds. Is the Tryp operating system, the OS. That means that they're subscribed to the Tryp system, okay, as a driver, and those are the only ones that we get paid on.
The ones that are active.
The ones that are active, okay. So what happened with Keenan, okay, is he just made $50. Everybody see that? So he made $50 because when Mary Lou activated, he was the closest the closest upline influencer. He made that $50, and it becomes a part of your team, Chase.
Awesome.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for showing me that, Bill.
Yeah, you bet. Of course. All right. Any other questions, you guys?
I do, but I don't know if it's an offline one that I need to talk with you or Stacy on. But
no, go ahead.
I have a half brother that lives out in Phoenix. He's a retired police officer, and he knows a ton of people. What's the best way for me to get him involved and to use him as part of my team? Is it
So
Like
I would,
trying to get in a
yes.
group, or is it to try, go to the airport with him and get people to sign up through him? Tell me
Right.
how I
So is
use
he
that.
already interested in joining?
Yes.
He is. Okay, good. So that's the first step. So he sees the vision. Has he been on one of the webinars yet?
No. When
Right.
I talked to him, I had just left Phoenix, and then I got sick for about a week. So
Okay. So what I would suggest you to do, and if you can put in the chat right now, DC, your cell phone number and your email address for me. You're already an
okay.
influencer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and put in the, you can just do it directly to me if you don't want to have everybody see it. Okay. Your cell phone number and your email address. And then I will put you on our influencer list so that you get a text from me every week before this call. Okay. What the agenda is and stuff. And then you can, and I'll send you immediately thereafter the webinar that we were just looking at. Okay. Now that's not set up to be automated with your Tryp ID yet. Okay. So you're still going to need to send them your Tryp ID. That functionality is still being built right now. We were trying to figure out how we could do it this morning. So I have to script it out and send it over to my team for them to do it. But what you'll be able to do is that just basically, hey, go watch this to get a feel for everything about it. And then I would say, go to the airport.
Right.
That's all. That's my number one mantra right now is go to the airport. Now, if he knows a bunch of people too, then he can start, doing real simple things, just like inviting him to the Wednesday webinar. Okay. That kind of stuff. Inviting him to this webinar that I'm sending you. And just following up with them afterwards. Okay, saying, "Hey, text me back as soon as you watch it if you have any questions." And then if they say, "Hey, I'm really interested," then he can just send them his link because he'll have that link at that point. Has he already done his free Tryp account? Has he got that set up?
No.
He hasn't. So that's the next thing for him to do for sure is to set up a free Tryp account and get that set up. DC, what's your last name?
Carap House. CARAP as in Paul, E as in Edward, L as in Lucy.
All right. But that's definitely what I would do. And there's a good chance you will see people at the Phoenix rideshare waiting lot at this
Right.
point. Yeah, very good chance.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Chase, have you've seen people there?
Oh my goodness, that video I made, I did not get to piece it together, but I had sent it to you of my overview of going to a lot and here in New Orleans. But yes, Phoenix was the same way. There was a lot of people.
Yeah, but no Tryp people.
As far as Tryp people,
Yeah.
no, nothing but mainly Uber and Lyft.
I'm telling you guys, nobody's doing this. And you did it, Chase. You can talk about it. There are hundreds of people standing around. Hundreds. All drivers.
Oh, and the parking lot here in New Orleans, I think it was 55, 57 people when I entered the parking lot, and that wasn't counting the people coming in as I was handing out flyers. So definitely they're all just sitting there on their phone. So one of the biggest things I started to talk to people about was like, look, while you're sitting here, wouldn't you like to make money while you're sitting here? Talking with people, chatting with people, expanding a business, instead of watching Netflix and things like that nature. It's just an added conversation that, I had with people.
Uh-huh. And what was their response?
They love the fact that you can make 4 ways of income, and
Okay.
they wanted to be doing something more with their time than just sitting there waiting for, people to call them. They were kind of bored walking around, pacing. Some people were outside the car, walking down and up the street. So.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly been my experience. Exactly, is that they're literally just standing around talking, or they're eating, and they're just waiting for pings. So
I have one question.
Yeah.
Last night I can make my upgrade and the system don't take my car. I don't know why.
Oh, let's talk afterwards, and I'll see if I can help you with that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I know we've been having some slight issues with that. So, and DC, you said you're in San Diego, right?
Correct.
All right.
And I've been down at the airport in the queue, and sometimes anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes is my downtime.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so you're paying for 20 to 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, you can hand out 200 flyers.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's why anybody who's a driver right now, this is, and I've always known this until, and it wasn't completely solidified until I went to the airport for the first time, that I'm not. What I constantly say to people is, look, I'm not asking you to do something that adds more time to your day. Okay, this doesn't add more time to your day. It's downtime that you already have that you can be utilizing much better. That's all it is. It's just downtime you already have. You're already standing around. You're already waiting.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, you're there. So why not make some money? I mean, like, it's kind of a no-brainer. Why not make some money? Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Right.
Cool. All right. I will, DC, I will send you that stuff in just a second here once we're done. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I'm good, Bill. Thank you.
You bet, Chase. Jarrett, you're good? Besides next week's.
Good. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So I'll get you last week's.
Yeah, I was doing earlier. That's why I didn't really. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm heading to the airport. Actually, I'm heading to the airport anyway.
Are you? Good. You got flyers with you?
Yeah. I got them from Staples, what you told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go do it, man. I want to watch your account today. Go do it. Just hang out for a second and answer questions for them.
All right, cool.
And then see if you can get them to just go set up an account right then and there, right?
All right, cool.
All right, good luck, man.
All right.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks so much, as always. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.